So Nitish Kumar and BJP have parted ways. Let's examine what will the future look like for each of the parties involved, as well as a direct impact on the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. In terms of why did Nitish take the decision to walk away, there are four main reasons. First of all, Nitish's prospects were on the decline over the years, and especially in the last two elections in the state assembly elections as well as Lok Sabha, where his vote share as well as the number of seats that he had and the entire projection of being a senior partner of the BJP, that was challenged. His seats had declined, and he had slowly over the last decade and a half become the junior partner, and that was kind of intimidating him as in terms of the kind of political future it would lend to him. So that was the first reason. The second reason was that he knew that this state of affairs had come especially in the last 2020 elections, particularly because the BJP had engineered his decline by getting Chirag Paswan to actually counter his candidates. Because if you know, Chirag Paswan had said that he has an issue and he's going to project candidates on seats which are going to be fought by the JDU, but he will not put any candidates on the seats which are going to be fought by the BJP. So this was clearly something which was engineered. This was the second reason. The third reason was the rise of RCP Singh. In the sense he's called RCP, but he's been a very, very close associate of Nitish Kumar, so much so that even Prashant Kishore never came to those kind of terms with Nitish because of RCP. But RCP was then kind of usurped by BJP. He's also a Kurmi, by the way, and he was given a portfolio at the center without as much as consultation of Nitish Kumar, which kind of hurt Nitish. And last but not the least, he did not want a Maharashtra to happen in Bihar, and he had prior intelligence that something was cooking, and that what Shinde has done to Uddhav Thackeray is something that his own MLAs might do to him, and he would be left high and dry, whereas most of his party walks away with the BJP. That was certainly something which was scaring Nitish, and he thought that let me go ahead and part ways and kind of preempt this kind of a surgical strike, if I might use that term, by BJP. For BJP, for sure, it is a setback because it has not gone as per their plan. Now, there are two ways to look at it. One is that BJP was engineering a split, and they were wanting to do another Shinde on Nitish Kumar. Then this is not the timing which has suited them. And also it has not happened as per their play, and Nitish has actually preempted what they were doing. So their entire game would be spoiled, if that were BJP's plan. So that is one. It has not worked in their favor, and it has not worked in the way they wanted things to pan out for them in Bihar. They also did not want to actually split as per one thought and analysis before 2024, which are the Lok Sabha elections, which is the primary focus of our video as to what is going to happen in 2024. Now, the fact of the matter is, over the last two Lok Sabha elections, BJP has done very well in 2014 as well as 2019. However, it is unable to go beyond a certain mark because they, of course, get the upper caste vote. But they are also looking for that MBC, they're looking for that OBC vote, which Nitish gets. And despite Nitish's declining prospects in Bihar, the fact of the matter is he does command a lot of control over 15% of the vote bank, and that vote bank would have come very handy in those Lok Sabha elections in the coming 2 years, after 2 years. So definitely they would not have probably wanted Nitish to go off this early. So that is another thing. Now the third point is that in state assembly elections, which are due in 2025, BJP will also, in terms of future, have to figure out how will they go ahead, because they have kind of burned their bridges with every major party of size and repute in Bihar. What are they left with? They are going to be left with people like Chirag Paswan, or perhaps with Amanji, or very small parties of that size. The fact is they don't have another major partner, and they probably didn't even want it in 2025. If they thought they've done pretty well for themselves, they got over 70 seats in the last elections themselves. So the fact is that they might have thought that they would be able to carry off the assembly elections basically on their own might, but they don't have a face in Bihar, and that is something in the future which is going to impact them. In Lok Sabha elections, of course, there's going to be this big mascot of Modi, which is always the case. He's the overwhelming figure in every major election, and he kind of has an appeal which cuts across caste and community lines, and people do vote for him regardless of which kind of background or sect they come from. But in assembly elections, BJP will be in a quandary. They will be wondering whom to project. So as far as BJP is concerned, they will have to kind of redraw the blueprint for Bihar. And this is something which Nitish has kind of preempted, and they were not ready for the timing. Now, Nitish Kumar and JDU are synonyms now. The way one might say that JDU is Nitish and Nitish is JDU, it will not be an incorrect statement, because more or less he is the only and overarching figure of the party, and he also knows that he's done his entire tenure, more or less. For the first that he's done his damage control, he's not called the Chanakya of Bihar for no reason. The fact that he's been able to outwit the BJP itself shows what a Machiavellian person he might be, or his style of politics will be when compared to equally Machiavellian BJP style of politics as far as alliances are concerned, and the fact of his changing affiliations so quickly to suit himself. So if you say number one, he has done damage control to what might have happened in days ahead. Suppose a Shinde would have happened on him, he would be left nowhere at 70 plus an age, or 71 years plus of an age. Where would he have been left? So he's definitely, in terms of, secured his future, at least till the time that he wants to be, because in the last election there was one statement where he said, this is probably my last election. We might see 2025 might be his last election, for all you know. So the fact of the matter is he has done his damage control. That's one in terms of securing his future. The second is Nitish Kumar has a remarkable record of being the Chief Minister since 2005 in an uninterrupted way, by going here or there, whether being in Mahagathbandhan, whether being in BJP, or whether being on its own. The fact of the matter is he's been able to pull it off in a very incredible way. He or his party have definitely been in power, and he's mostly been the Chief Minister for about 17 odd years, and he will now continue, as we see today. He will now continue to be the Chief Minister till more or less the term ends, because the numbers are pretty much evened out in a way that favor him, and will be very difficult to engineer a split at this point in time. So basically, that is the second thing. The third thing that I wanted to talk about, and I've already spoken about the fact that he is 70 plus, is that this is his last hurrah, and he would probably maybe the last election the next time, and then that's what JDU's future is and his future is, and he would definitely not want his dusk or of his political career to be anything but remarkable, and he's made sure that he's managed that. Last but not the least, he knows that he is not an equal to Modi in terms of the national stature. But the fact of the matter is, he also knows that in 2024, as far as his party is concerned, or the opposition at large in terms of this country is concerned, there are very few leaders who will have a consensus on their name. Possibly Nitish is one person on whom a consensus is, and he could possibly become a rallying point for all the other opposition parties as even a figure who may or may not defeat Modi, but at least in terms of the national focus, in terms of the national level politics, the future and 2024 would be that his decision today will definitely give him an opportunity to emerge as that national icon around whom the opposition parties would possibly rally. And as I said, whether or not they win is not the point. The point is his stature in national politics is something that he has secured by doing what he has, and especially in light of 2024. They have more seats, they have 79 seats. You know, they had won about 75, and then about 4 MLAs of OAC had walked over to RJD, and their numbers in the assembly rose to about 79. Now the fact is that this is something that BJP did not predict. They did not think that he will play second fiddle to Nitish Kumar, considering the kind of numbers that he has and the kind of past animosity that they have. If you know, the alliance of Mahagathbandhan had broken. Nitish had ditched RJD and walked over to BJP. So in that sense, the BJP did not sense it, and nobody in RJD might have also thought that this is something that might happen in a couple of years when the assembly elections took place in 2020. But as we see that nothing is impossible in politics, and this has actually come to pass. But why would he do that? Why would he, with lesser number of MLAs, because Nitish has about 43 MLAs and he has about 80 MLAs, 79, 80 MLAs. So nearly double the size, and then still he's letting Nitish Kumar become the chief minister. The fact is that he would be thinking of 2-3 things in terms of future, as well as 2024, as well as 2025 assembly elections, and that is that RJD feels that this is their chance. They had no chance. They did well last time, they did well this time, but they have actually no prospects of forming the government as far as BJP and JDU were together. So this is one chance to kind of grapple back into relevance, grapple back into governance. So that is certainly one point. The second point is there are so many cases which are going against RJD and the first family of RJD, Lalu Prasad Yadav, as well as the Tejasvi himself. And you might remember, actually Nitish had raised certain corruption charges against Tejasvi. Today is, of course, shaking hands, that's another matter. But the fact of the matter is, he's got these agencies investigating cases against RJD as well as his family. So as somebody who would have a slice of power in the state government, it gives him a certain amount of leverage to put counter pressure on the pressure that will come from the national government. And when agencies are after you, there's a certain amount of counter pressure that you can put being in the administration. Suppose you're in the opposition, then you can actually be rolled over by the government. And that is why he thought that it was worth taking that kind of a decision where he actually plays second fiddle. And third, he would have thought that this would mean a tremendous consolidation of the backward, the OBC, the MBC vote, the Muslim community vote in Bihar, which is extremely large and extremely relevant to Bihar politics even today. RJD did not win even one Lok Sabha seat in 2019. With 2024 coming, he would not have wanted to become that irrelevant in the Lok Sabha once again. And he knows that with this arithmetic done and with his own OBC backing, as well as Nitish's backward class, the Kurmis, everybody coming together, as well as the Muslim vote coming together, he would probably get a better chance at winning at least a few seats in the 40 Lok Sabha MPs that Bihar kind of elects. So that actually works for RJD, and these 3 reasons are primary and pretty strong, relevant reasons why RJD would want to secure its future as well as its prospects in 2024. Congress, has been whitewashed more or less into irrelevance. They've not been winning those many seats. Their prospects in Bihar are pretty much the same as their prospects in the rest of the country. But for them, there's one gain, that they get to be a part of a coalition which is in power in a state. And that is all, or the long and short of it. For Congress, there's not much more to say in terms of how much they'll be able to gain in the future, because the internal politics and dynamics has reached a stage where it is actually a challenge, and the party actually needs to revive itself before it derives any major advantage through just a change of alliances in a state government.